I try to only make uplifting and encouraging content, but sometimes I look around in the online space of homesteading and I feel like it's all very romanticized and curated, and that the realities that homesteaders face are kind of skimmed over. If you're new here, I'm Staci, homeschooling and homesteading mama of 7, on a mission to ditch the grocery store and become more self-sufficient. Subscribe to our channel to learn more about our journey and how we are making that dream come true. It is Tuesday as I record this, and it has already been a very exhausting and at times frustrating week. I promise this video will get more positive, but I'm going to start out by showing you some of the struggles that we've faced over the past week. And then I'll take you along as we collect sap, and I'll show you how we make maple syrup. On this day, we woke up to a cow out for the 3rd time that week, and our setup is not ideal, so getting her back in the pen is a challenge. The reason she keeps getting out is that the fence is under a lot of snow, and so the electricity isn't working, and she's figured that out, so she just pushes right through the wire. And she's learned that getting out and walking to the porch means we give her grain to get her back in, so she has us trained. Winters here in northern Wisconsin are very harsh. Our hope is that by next year we will have better fencing and a nice barn, but for now we need to figure out a plan to get by. Of course, this stuff always happens when my husband is gone, and I'd like to say that I'm comfortable doing all of the things he normally handles, but in reality, things like running the tractor are just not my realm. But one of the things about homesteading and animals is that there are no days off or saying you don't know how to do something. I need to get the cows a fresh bale of hay so that they aren't excited to escape, and then I need to try to fix the fence. I do know how to drive the tractor, but the snow is very deep and the tractor sinks and becomes unlevel easily, so it feels scary to me. Also, I've never moved a bale of hay before, and we don't have a bale spear. We just use the forks, so here goes figuring it out. I'm very grateful that these kids actually know more than me a lot of the time and are able to help. Things would be a lot harder if I was still in the stage of babies and no big helpers. Okay, driving the tractor is not my favorite thing. I'm not super confident in what I'm doing, but I'm very grateful to have boys that do know what they're doing. Okay, I just crossed a big ravine and that was terrifying. I'm sure my husband would be howling at me at this point, but this is scary stuff when you've never done it. I feel like the whole thing's just gonna flip over. Okay, just have to figure out how to get it over the fence. We'll figure that out when we get there, I guess. I have no idea how my husband usually does this. I guess I should pay attention. This is my lesson. Okay, I just sunk in some deep snow and I got the biggest bellyache. Okay, you guys, I feel so accomplished right now. I actually got the bale in the round bale feeder by myself. Now we just have to get this tractor back to where it's supposed to be parked without breaking anything. Okay, we got them food, so I'm hoping that that will help keep them there. And if not, then I'm gonna get another one. We can go through that again and put it in the spot where she was getting out. But I'm hoping just some more food will be enough of a distraction. If not, we'll create a physical barrier. And then Colin's grabbing some more fencing materials, and I think we're just gonna have to create a whole new fence line. The problem is what's connected to the electric right now is underground, so it's shorting out. So we're going to have to disconnect what's connected to the electric and then create a whole new fence. Farming. Also, unfortunately, we didn't realize before we put the hay in there that it was moldy. I immediately called a dairy farmer friend, and he said that as long as it was white mold and not a bright colored mold, it would be fine until we could get better hay in there. And thankfully, we never did notice any repercussions of it, and the cows are pretty good about just picking out the good stuff. What we learned is that we do not like doing baleage, so these hay bales were wrapped last fall, and the idea is that they will ferment and the hay becomes more digestible and healthy for the cows. The flip side of that is that there are many things that can go wrong. In our case, mice had eaten holes all over the plastic and oxygen got in there. It could have also been the wrong moisture level when it got wrapped. Either way, it ruined a lot of the hay, so we won't be taking that risk next year, and we will just be keeping our hay unwrapped. Oh, and the hay bale distraction didn't work. Spot continued to get out several more times that day, but she also discovered more places that she could walk through, so I gave up on trying to block it and decided we really just needed to fix the fence. When my husband got home with some supplies, we temporarily fixed the fence by disconnecting the original fence and running new wire that wouldn't be under the snow. The rest of the fence is just there as a visual boundary, but now there would actually be a shock when she hits the fence. Thankfully, that seemed to do the trick. We knew though, as we did this, that the fence would probably need adjusted as the snow melts. The other thing we're facing is the mud. As the snow melts, it's everywhere and it feels impossible to keep the barn clean. Boots and coats often come in drenched in mud and manure. There are so many uncontrollable variables in a homesteader's life between weather and animals that you never know what each day will bring. Often this is a big part of the joy of the lifestyle, but I'd be lying if I didn't say that it can also create a lot of stress and anxiety, especially if you aren't mentally prepared for that end of it. Okay, enough negativity. After dealing with the cows, I decided to go scrub the container that we used to transport our maple sap so that we can bring it to a friend's to make maple syrup. And then we'll go dump the sap bags.
Trying to clean it out. There's a bunch of dirt in the bottom and we want to start putting our sap in there because the sap bags are overflowing. So I'm going to see if I can get all or as much of the dirt as I can out of here.
Ideal sapping days are below freezing at night and above freezing during the day. We are blessed with quite a few sugar maples, and each year we plan to tap more of them. The trees are drilled with a hole just big enough for the spiles. Then the spile is gently hammered in, and then a bag hung to catch the sap as it flows out. We have also used clear tubes that flow into buckets, but found that we prefer the bags. After the bags fill up, they are dumped into the bulk tank. Today it looks like the sap is mostly frozen, so we'll just drain off what we can get and then do it again in a few days when it warms up. It's amazing to me how good the sap tastes straight from the tree, so the kids will often take a drink or eat some of the frozen sap. We are pretty lucky to have friends with a nice setup for evaporating the water out of the sap and turning it into syrup. We have done it before over a fire and over a propane burner, but decided that for this season of our life, it made more sense for us just to let someone with the proper equipment do it for us. Basically, how a syrup evaporator works is that the raw sap is warmed up in the preheater pan. Once it is hot, it is then released into the main evaporator pans where it moves along as the water is evaporated off. The close to finished syrup is then drawn off on the other end and then is finished off in a separate finishing pan until it is officially maple syrup. Special tools such as a hydrometer are used to make sure it's just right. It is Monday and significantly warmer than it's been, so we're going to go see if the sap is flowing. Okay, we're just walking out into the woods and it looks like the sap bags are full. So we're gonna go dump and see how much we got. We didn't know it this day as we were dumping sap, but we would only dump twice more before the weather would turn too warm. It was our shortest season in the 6 years we've been doing this. Once the weather stays above freezing for a few days, the trees bud and the sap becomes bitter. A little bitter sap can ruin a whole batch of syrup, so it really just isn't worth the risk. The snow was still so deep that it seemed like it would take months of warmth to all disappear.
Watch out, boys! They're gonna crash you!
Only a few days later and the weather would completely change, and within days the snow was almost gone. It felt so good to get out and enjoy the warmth and the ability to walk around without falling through snow. The fence did need some adjusting, but the cows stayed in and were very happy to have room to walk around. Our cats that had had kittens during the cold spell got moved out of our mudroom and are enjoying the warmth as well. Well, I'm off to go enjoy this sunshine before it's back to 30s and snow next week, but I hope that this allowed you a little peek into some of the struggles of homesteading while still being an encouragement. Ultimately, life is hard no matter what path you choose. It's just a matter of choosing your hard. Have a wonderful day, friends, and I'll see you back here next week.